Okay, good morning, everybody. My name is Sheriff Darren Weekly. Welcome to the Douglas County Homeless Initiative Working Group and Executive Committee meeting. I will be facilitating the meeting in absence of Commissioner Abe Layden. And first thing we should probably do today is just go around the table and have introductions.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Jamie Reif with the Metro Denver Homeless Initiative.
Good morning. I'm Jennifer Eby with Community Development in Douglas County.
Good morning. My name is Dan McKelkey, and I'm with Human Services for Douglas County.
Good morning. Jason Gray, Town of Castle Rock Mayor.
James Scholes, local Castle Rock business participant.
Good morning. Erin White, Manor Resource Center.
Good morning, everyone. Laura Thomas. I'm a Douglas County Commissioner.
Good morning, Dan Marlowe, Executive Director of Help and Hope Center.
Good morning, Kirk Wilson with Lone Tree PD.
Good morning, Marissa Harmon, Lone Tree City Council.
Mark Druva.
Tiffany Marcito, the Heart Team.
Deputy Ward, Douglas County Sheriff.
Mike Hill, Douglas County Health Department.
Thank you, everybody. First item on the agenda is Joshua Station, Mile High Ministries. And I'm sorry, Miriam Medina, Family Advocate.
Am I in the right spot? Is this right? Okay.
You are.
That's perfect.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for having me. My name is Miriam Medina, and I'm a family advocate at Joshua Station. I'm going to pull up my phone because I forgot my comments on my sheet, if that's okay.
Sure.
Miriam, we will advance the slides for you too. If you just say advance the slide, then it will magically happen.
Perfect. So we can switch over to the next slide. So Mile High Ministries was born in 1988 as a collaborative effort between a group of churches working across denominational and cultural lines. In our early days, we were particularly inspired and encouraged by the vision of a pastor who challenged us to focus outside of the walls of the church and really engage the city in ways that made sense. And particularly the struggles and the beauty of the urban poor. From its earliest days, Mile High Ministries has served as an incubator, so there's a lot of social ventures that have spun off out of Mile High Ministries and are now working independently. You'll hear from one of them right after me, I believe. And we can switch slides. So there's 3 connected challenges that we've noticed and are working hard to address. The first is homelessness. The second is housing affordability. And the third is social isolation. We can move to the next slide. And as many of you know, homelessness is a result of very complex, compounded adverse experiences and realities. And people almost never lose their housing due to one isolated cause. Another thing that we like to point out is that there's 3 kind of levels of homelessness. There's the visibly homeless, there's the invisible homeless, and then there's the almost homeless. And a lot of the families that come through to Joshua Station are in that 2nd and 3rd tier where they're staying at cars or they're couch hopping. They're not necessarily, sleeping in the streets of Denver. And 3 major factors that contribute to this is trauma. So a lot of adverse childhood experiences. Almost everyone who's experiencing homelessness has experienced significant trauma in their lives, whether by immediate casualty, so like fleeing domestic violence, or cascading effects from earlier in life. It could be health issues, it could be injuries, it could be family issues, all of which have led to instability. The second is economic factors. And despite an economy that outpaces national averages, Denver's wage growth, especially at the low end, has not nearly kept in pace with the rising cost of living. In Denver, more than half of renters are considered cost burdened. So 51% of renters spend more than 30% of their monthly income on rent. And then, of course, oh, sorry, I already mentioned instability. We can go on to the next slide. So Joshua Station, we're a program based off of Mile High Ministries, and we're a faith-based community helping families make the transformation from homelessness into a stable living environment. We can go to the next slide. And that's our building right there, back before it was Joshua Station.
That truck looks like the one I learned how to drive on.
After working with families experiencing poverty in the 1990s and 2000s on Capitol Hill and East Colfax, we desired to offer safe transitional housing. It often broke the hearts of our staff and our volunteers to see families and children staying in East Colfax motels. They were surrounded by drugs and sex trade in their hallways and in their parking lots. And so in 2001, Mile High Ministries bought a blighted Motel 7, which was formerly Spa Motor Inn, and there's a lot of really cool history behind that that I just don't have the time to get into, in the Central Platte. We can switch over to the next slide. And so with a massive community effort, the building began to get renovated. Almost all of the work that's been done at Joshua Station has been the work of the community. We've had countless volunteers that have come over the course of decades to just help build this community for our families, and it's really beautiful. The old swimming pool became a playground. The bar became our restaurant, and actually the barkeeper from the motel, she didn't get displaced from her job. She was the first Joshua Station front desk manager, so I thought that was really cool. The upstairs event space became our community rooms, and the rooms were furnished lovingly and decorated into residence units. And we can switch over to the next slide. Although staying in a safe space was absolutely critical, we realized that it didn't prove to be sufficient, and it wasn't uncommon for families to move out of Joshua Station and step back into homelessness. And so we've incorporated different program elements throughout the year. We've included a youth worker / education liaison. We have family advocates, which is what I do, and we serve as the case managers there. We have therapists. All families and their children it's a required component of our program, so children do play therapy, and then our families also have counseling services. We partner with JAMLAC for legal assistance. And then we also have incorporated adult education and employment programs. And this is just scratching the surface. There's so much that goes on at Joshua Station on a day-to-day basis that it would be so hard to talk about it all. But we can switch over to the next slide. So for people who are interested in staying at Joshua Station, they must have dependent children in their care. They must have a source of income, so they do pay rent. They have to have a minimum 90 days sobriety from drugs and alcohol, and we do UAs throughout the course of their stay there at any given moment. And they have to have a willingness to engage in the program and work towards goals. So it is a strong program component. It's not just emergency housing or just housing at all. There's a very strong program component. We can switch over to the next slide. And I thought I'd share a little about the application process. So they submit an application, attend orientation, sign up for an interview. We take the interviews very seriously because we want to make sure that they're a fit for our community and that we're also a fit for them. And oftentimes that's not the case. But luckily we have a compiled list of resources. So we're always working with our community partners to make sure that anyone who's not at Joshua Station doesn't necessarily fall through the cracks. We do background checks, references, and if approved, we conduct a wraparound meeting with anyone who is of importance in their lives. It could be parole officers, it could be other case managers from other organizations, and then they move in when a room is available and spruced. And we can switch over. And the spruce room process is absolutely my favorite part. I wish that I could just transport you all to Joshua Station and the beauty that is the rooms that we spruce. And when I say we, I mean our volunteers. They do such a great job at making sure that the rooms feel like home and they're lively and they're beautifully decorated, which is why another reason why it's not emergency housing. Our process takes a few weeks, and a part of that is that there's a lot of love and time that goes into each of the rooms to make sure that it fits the family's needs and the demographic of their children, the makeup of their family, all of that. We can go to the next slide. Families pay no more than 30% of their income. And this is on a case-by-case scenario. So there's families that pay even much less than that. They do have to attend weekly family advocacy meetings with us, and we just talk about their goals. We talk about their family plans, education with their children, all of that. They are required to attend community meals every Thursday, and attendance at community enrichment classes and monthly town hall meetings. I think this is probably one of the most important parts of our program's success. Social isolation, I know I didn't, really dig into that, but it's a major factor that contributes to ongoing homelessness, chronic homelessness. And so at Joshua Station, we've really worked hard to build a community, and you see residents cooking with each other. They take care of each other's kids so they can go to work. They share meals even outside of our community meal time, and it's a really special place. They also have to meet with the education liaison to assess adult and child educational needs and goals, participate in counseling, and complete community service. So we all take care of the space together. It's not left to our grounds manager. It's everyone's work to keep our space beautiful. And they have to follow rules and regulations of Joshua Station. So we do have a curfew. We are a drug and alcohol-free establishment. And there's a few other rules that I won't get into, but we can go to the next slide. First 90 days for them is connection phase. After the first 90 days, we sit, assess, and make sure that we're still a fit for each other. And then we'll invite them into a partnership phase, which is the remaining 21 months. And after the partnership phase, hopefully the goal is that we've found more permanent housing, whether it's through Section A or they're able to move into their own marketplace apartment. And then we'll do a graduation, and we continue follow up with our families in various ways. Next slide, please. So currently we have 25 families in residence for a 2-year stay. 100% of our graduating families have moved into stable long-term housing. 88% of the children have shown decreased emotional distress, and 197 children and adults were served last year, whether it's residential or aftercare. So I think it's really beautiful, and oftentimes, I'm sure you're aware, it's really hard to quantify our work. So this is just one measurable, like a few measurable outcomes, but really the work it's so hard to quantify because it's done in the day-to-day, it's done in every conversation. And I think a lot of times what's hard is that you don't even really know the impact that you're having on families or their children. So that's a little bit about us. We can move to the next slide. And this is our space, so our beautiful playground, our rooms, and a beautiful mural that's located right. If you're driving on the highway, you're able to see it, but we really value home, healing, and hospitality at Joshua Station. And if any of you ever get the chance to visit, we'd love to have you. It's a really special place. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Doug.
Oh, Sorry, I didn't know if I was supposed to stay for questions or.
Yeah, if you've got a few minutes, does
absolutely.
anybody have any questions for Ms. Medina?
Well, can I just say, Miriam, thank you so much for coming and presenting this to us. Commissioner Layden and a group of us had an opportunity to go to Joshua Station and have a tour, an on-site tour. And I really must say it's a very special place. And there is absolutely a sense of community there. The sense of healing and hospitality absolutely comes through. It was very, just the staff was so engaging. It was just a sense of a very warm place to be. We had a little bit of an experience. I mean, we were not there at all during a community meeting, but we were able to see some of the people that were in there cooking together and just kind of enjoying each other's company. And you could just definitely tell that it was a place where they could kind of just take a breath. And I think it was an honor to see at least one of the rooms that was, in the process of being spruced up. So I wonder if you could talk about that a little bit, because I know we talked about that. And I think that, there is a lot of, I think, value in having kind of the community come in, volunteers from the community come in. And I just thought it was really cool the way you guys did it, because I remember you saying that they really get to know that family, and then try to make the surroundings for them be a good fit for them. So can you talk about some of the groups that do that a little bit more, and who the volunteers are and how that works?
Yeah. So we have a big variety of groups that come in. It could range from church groups. We've had realtors come in. We've had other organizations that are wanting to do a volunteer day, or it takes a few days, volunteer days with their staff members. I mean, it just varies. Any county commissioners that are interested, we'd welcome that. But our spruce room process is probably our most popular volunteer opportunity at Joshua Station. It's also our most expensive volunteer opportunity at Joshua Station, because all of the sprucing, the furnishing, all of that is done by our volunteer groups, who are really excited to just transform that space. Unfortunately, our volunteer groups are not there when the families move in, so they don't get to see that reaction. And part of that is to dignify the families, and this is your space, it's not a spectacle. And so I think it's really beautiful that there's groups of people that are willing and wanting to step in and just never really see, the smiles that they're bringing to the families' faces. But they're given the makeup of the family, so colors that the kids might like, or cartoon characters, colors for the parents, and they have a vision and they kind of go with it. Of course, we have a list of required elements. But for the most part, they have creative freedom to spruce that room as they'd like. And I've actually done a couple of rooms we're working with some asylum-seeking families, and so I got to step into that spruce room process, and it's hard work, but it's very fun. It's a nice little creative outlet.
Yeah.
Thank you. Any other questions?
What are you doing with
Get back to him.
When they're done with school? Oh, yeah. So our education liaison does a really good job. So he is very well connected with each of the schools that our children go to. And so he's always kept in the loop. He has access to their academic progress and all of that. And every week he has tutors come in. It's called Whiz Kids. So we have tutors that come in and sit with the kids and work on whatever it is that they need to work on. Just yesterday, I did an end of year assessment with one of our families, because our education liaison is currently in Spain. And they were saying how Whiz Kids was probably a turning point for them academically. And they just get the support in whatever area they need. So that's one way.
Then the other question with the kids is, what are we doing for them as far as mental health therapy, trying to break the cycle?
Yeah, that's really important. So therapy is a required part of our program. We have counselors and counseling interns at Joshua Station, and every child is required to do play therapy or if they're older, they do just counseling with one of our counselors, but every child at Joshua Station is required to do that. Yeah, you're welcome.
Your location is?
Mark, can you use the mic?
Your location? It looks really familiar. The location is north of 8th Avenue, I believe.
Steve, can you help me out with that? I'm newer to Denver.
Just off the exit of 8th Avenue and I-25, just down from the football stadium. You can see it. My office is there too. I can see I-25 from my office.
Our bright colors help. So if you're ever driving down, the bright colors of this building kind of help to pinpoint it.
Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you all for having me.
One online question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Miriam, can you talk about how to contact you if somebody would like to come and do a tour?
Yeah, absolutely. So unfortunately, I didn't bring business cards with me, but if you go to milehighmin.com or milehighministries.com, all of our information is there. We have our front desk number, and you could ask for Miriam or Amy, and we'd be happy to schedule a tour with anyone. So just our website would probably be the easiest.
Okay, thank you. We'll make sure we post that online as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next on the agenda, we have Justice and Mercy Legal Aid Center, Steve Thompson, Executive Director.
Good morning, everyone. Can I just start by saying I love Joshua Station? It's a fabulous thing. And as you look at that hotel there, when Justice and Mercy Legal Aid Center started, we were, that Miriam showed you, our offices were in that building. So we converted some of the hotel rooms into our offices. And then when we moved out, we're now on the back parking lot of what was Joshua Station's back parking lot. We built a building there that is now the Justice and Mercy Legal Aid Center. We spruced a room, our staff spruced a room, and it was a fabulous experience. So if you guys have a church group or community group that would like to do that, it really is, it's fun and it's rewarding. So as Miriam mentioned, we are JAMLAC is one of the ministries or organizations that Mile High Ministries incubated. So I actually worked with Mile High Ministries starting back in like 1993, before I was an attorney. And then once I went to law school and we were going to start our legal aid services, I asked Jeff if we could do it at Mile High, because I knew that they incubated things. And so that's where we started. And we started, if you can go to the next slide, I'll give you a little bit of background on us. We actually opened in 2006, as I said, in a hotel room at Joshua Station. And when we started, it was myself and my co-founder, Solma Mendoza, who's also still with us. And it was just the two of us. We were working part-time. And we had come to Joshua Station to work there. Actually, I opened an office there, a law office there, a couple of years before we opened the clinic, because we knew that there was a big need for people who were struggling with poverty and oppression to have legal services. And the then director of Joshua Station asked me if I would move a law office there. At the time, I was just a sole practitioner, but I had a burden for working with people who were on the margins of society. And so she said, you know, we have this program they were calling Synergy, where we'd like to have professionals move into our building and that might be able to provide some services for families. So in 2004, I moved an office in there. It was a great decision for what I'm doing now. It was a very poor decision as far as a business. It's not the best place for a law office. It's not exactly 17th Street, but my law office became JAMLAC. We converted it into JAMLAC once we started the ministry there. So folks who are on the margins have all kinds of issues, as you guys know, since you're a commission on homelessness. We found out when we started JAMLAC, we didn't know that the vast majority of our clients would be victims of domestic violence, but that's the way it turned out. And a lot of our clients were victims of domestic violence. And after a few years of doing our work there, we started focusing primarily on victims of domestic violence. So Justice and Mercy Legal Aid Center seeks justice for people who are struggling with poverty and oppression, mostly victims of crime, mostly victims of domestic violence, by providing free legal aid to those who otherwise cannot afford an attorney. All of our services are offered in Spanish and in English. We also have translation services. Miriam mentioned asylees. We're working with a lot of immigrants and asylum seekers. We have just begun a program for Afghan resettlement, helping them with their legal issues. So we offer services to individuals, as most of you know, nonprofits do, no matter their immigration status, race, religion, sexual orientation, or gender. We provide mostly our main areas of legal services are in immigration and family law. And we do full representation of clients as well as community workshops and consultation clinics. We have a partnership with the Christian Legal Society of Metro Denver, which is where I met Abe Layden many, many years ago. And we have 10, they're kind of like Law Line 9 or Mi Casa Legal Nights. We have 10 of those around the city where we have partnerships with community organizations. And we have volunteer attorneys come in and do one-hour consultations with clients that the local place sets up. So we have one at Secor, which is kind of not far from here, and we go all the way up north. We helped start one in Fort Collins, and we have several of them in the middle of the city. So that's another important part of our services. We'll go to the next slide. So these are the folks that we serve. We serve all the counties in the Denver metro area, including Arapahoe, Douglas, and Elbert and Lincoln counties. As I said, we focus on victims of domestic violence, and a good part of our support is from VAIL boards, Victim Assistance and Law Enforcement, and we do have funding from the 18th Judicial District VAIL board. So we do a good bit of work in the 18th Judicial District serving people. We concentrate on people who are low income. 150% of current poverty level is kind of where we try to have our cutoff, although as you all know, if you work with domestic violence victims, there are folks who have significant resources who don't have access to those resources. Their partner has access to those resources, and we don't count a partner's or a husband's, usually a husband, income against a client as we're determining whether or not we can serve them. But we do have that focus and that cutoff. Primarily victims of crime, domestic violence, sexual assault, and other crimes. We get referrals, obviously, from the DA's offices and the police departments, and whatever it is, whatever crime that you're a victim of, if you have a civil legal need, then we can step in and help you. And of course, we serve a lot of immigrants, and their legal status does not matter to us in terms of us providing services. So we have an intake process. It's kind of a three-step process, but this outlines it quickly. That's our phone number there, and you guys can put that on your website or whatever as well. Not everyone that calls our office gets a meeting with a victim advocate. Obviously, we get a lot more requests for services than we're able to meet the need of. But we try to meet with as many people as qualify as we possibly can. So at least getting a meeting with a victim advocate, and that victim advocate goes over their situation and assesses what their needs are, and often we can give some help even if we're not able to give them into the further process. We can give them some kind of advice or help and resources to help them with their situation. help them fill out paperwork, those kinds of things. Second step is that some of those people that have a meeting with a victim advocate get a consult with one of our attorneys. And after we've had an attorney consult, then we review those cases to see who we can represent. And then if we take on a case, then we represent them through permanent final orders in their cases. And we like to keep up with our folks as much as we can. We have a lot of people that come back and bring us meals and kind of become part of our family, kind of like the Joshua Station family. Let me go to the next slide. Oh yeah, this one's going to be hard for me to read from here. But anyway, that's kind of an outline of what I just talked about. Contact us, consult with an attorney, and then we keep in touch with you. We have an advocate on our staff, a navigator who their responsibility is non-legal. She helps with non-legal issues, trying to help get people set up with housing or with counseling or other needs that they have. Our primary focus, obviously, is to do legal representation, but we understand that wraparound services are extremely important. We're one piece of the puzzle, often a very important piece of the puzzle for people, but many of our clients have needs far greater than the legal part. But if they don't get their legal part taken care of, they're not probably going to be able to address those other things. Go on. So in addition to our legal representation, we do have a pro bono program where we try to connect attorneys who are not practicing poverty law with people who have legal needs, and we have some good relationships with some law firms in that. And if you guys know any lawyers that would be interested in volunteering, we'd love to put them in touch with our pro bono person. We can train you. A lot of the work that we do, it can get complicated when you get in the weeds and you have full representation to somebody, but there are a lot of legal needs that people have that can be solved just by presence with a little bit of knowledge. So attorneys have the right to practice law. They've gone to law school, and most of them can figure out a lot of the minor legal issues that our clients have without having to spend hours and hours doing that. And so we love to have attorney volunteers. If you guys know of any attorneys that would be interested in doing that. As I said, we just started an Afghan resettlement program. We're working on with older adults more in our community, and we're hoping to actually increase that in the coming days. And then triage clinics are what I just talked about a few minutes ago that we do 10 of them around the city. Yeah, you can go to the next slide. So in the family law area, we do divorce, dissolution of marriage, allocation of parental responsibilities. We do a lot of protection orders, and then there are other general civil matters that we do. I think it's probably clear to you guys, but we don't do criminal law. We chose when we started to do our work. The public defender system is overwhelmed. I think they do a good job. They're doing their best to do the best job that they can. We decided that since there are resources that the government provides in that area, that's not what we would focus on. That's also true in terms of dependency neglect. We don't do dependency neglect because you may know that if the state is proposing to limit your parental rights and you're indigent, they have a responsibility to provide attorneys. So again, the state covers that. So we don't do dependency and neglect work. We end up doing a lot of cases that start out in dependency and neglect. And then we take over the permanent orders going down the road or after a case has been closed. But we don't do dependency and neglect, and we don't do criminal law. Every now and then for a victim or one of our clients that has a minor criminal matter, we'll help them with that just for ease of service. And then we do a few other things. We do name changes. We steal records at times. We do some eviction work, although we try to refer that out to Colorado Poverty Law Project and some other partners. And we do predicate orders. SIJS is Special Immigrant Juvenile Status. for unaccompanied minors who are in the United States. So we do predicate orders for that. Next slide. In the immigration area, we do U visas, which are for victims of crime, and we do VAWAs, which Violence Against Women's Act, also victims of domestic violence. We help people with legal permanent residency, naturalizations, and we do a number of naturalization workshops every year where we help people fill out the paperwork and get it filed so that they can become citizens. And then we do DACA renewals and, as I said before, SIJS predicate orders. Next. I think that's an overview of us. I'm happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Thompson? Please wait for the mic so that the people online can hear you.
In the meantime, Steve, again, as with Miriam, thank you so much for coming and talking to this group. Wow, you are going on almost 30 years of connection with Joshua Station, Mile High Ministries,
yes.
And I think Steve is being very humble. He is the backbone behind this organization, and I'm sure has helped a tremendous amount of people. Thank you for the work that you've done advocating for them.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Can you talk a little bit about, I'm sure, I know you said you do different events throughout the metro area to bring legal aid to people.
Yeah, and I can have Nikki send you a list of where our triage clinics are, because often, if it's a need that we can't meet, we do ask people to go into those. And sometimes they're typically on Fridays. Some of them are every week, and some of them are once a month. Okay. But like I say, we have them all over the metro area, and there's one down south here at Secor. What is Secor? Southeast. I always forget. It's a community organization. So the way we do those triage clinics is we find a community organization that wants to provide some free legal consults to people, and then we provide attorneys. So we recruit the attorneys. They bring clients, we bring attorneys. So I can send you a list of those to get out to folks.
Yeah, that would be wonderful. That would be very helpful. I'm sure we might have some more that we could encourage partnership with.
Yeah.
So.
And if anybody knows somebody who would like to be a community partner, contact me and we'll get the ball rolling.
Great. Thank you. Any other questions?
Good morning. I just wanted to know about the demand for your services and if there's a wait list, and if so, how you manage that wait list.
It's a great question. Yeah, the demand is pretty significant. When the Colorado Supreme Court commissioned a study on the civil legal needs of indigent people in Colorado, they found that there is one paid legal aid lawyer for every almost 19,000 eligible indigent people who have a legal need in Colorado. Obviously, no lawyer can take 19,000 cases. We do keep a waiting list, and we do have a short waiting list right now. We try to vet the cases so that those who are the most critical, that we get started on them, and if a case can wait for some time. And we also always just offer the client, if we feel like they're a case that we could take but can't take right now, we'll put you on the wait list, and then if you get some other services or something, we'll take you off. But yeah, we have our case review meetings on Thursday for the family law department, so today we'll be doing that. And we'll typically review 20 cases that we've had consults with, and we may be able to take four a week and then put people on the waiting list. And so, yeah, the need is great. We do all we can. So it's a good question.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Heart Team update. Tiffany?
Yes, thank you. Last month, we received 105 referrals.
71% of those were from law enforcement. We had 11 community partners send in referrals for individuals, 13 citizen calls, and 6 individuals that submitted referrals for assistance for themselves. HART was able to contact 54 of those individuals. 14 refused to follow up with us. We found 1 unoccupied camp that has been since cleaned up, and 20 were unable to locate. Of the 105 referrals that we had, 92 were unduplicated for the month of May. And regarding our case management services through the Homeless Management Information System, we provided 16 clients with new or ongoing case management services. 1 client was referred for benefit assistance, 2 to other nonprofit community partners, 2 were referred to a shelter of their choosing, 6 were assisted with food. We referred 1 for mental health, 3 were assisted with housing support. 3 clients were referred to faith-based or nonprofit partners for hotel vouchers. And our lovely deputies were able to assist 3 with transportation assistance. We did have 1 client who was placed into housing. He was able to obtain his own apartment. So that's the story that I'm going to share with you all today. We came across this individual earlier this year who had been homeless since 2013. We entered him into the One Home database, which is through our Homeless Management Information System. One Home is a coordinated entry system for the Metro Denver region that partners with service providers and community members to assess the housing needs of those who are experiencing homelessness. So based on his assessment results, they matched him with an apartment that fit his needs. They sent me the application. I helped him fill it out, turned it in on his behalf. And 2 weeks ago, exactly today, Deputy Brad Stram and I located him in northern Douglas County, and we were able to give him a ride to his new apartment where he signed the lease, was given the keys to his new place. We helped him tour the building, and we also made sure that it was important that he was connected to case management so he could have that ongoing support to remain self-sufficient. So that was huge for us. When we found him 2 weeks ago, he was completely at his worst. So just being able to give him a little bit of hope that there was a roof over his head now was very comforting to him. So that's all I have. And I know Deputy Ward has some individuals he wants to share.
All right. Deputy Ward with the Sheriff's Office, currently assigned to the HART team. So good morning, everyone. So I was going to share just a few examples of people that we've run across, just me and my navigator out doing what we do. As she mentioned, we have other teams out there as well. So just to kind of show the variety of people, different types of folks that we run across in different situations. So first one I mentioned is a single male. We located him in the Castle Rock area. And he was excited about the next chapter of his life. He had some recent family trauma, and he needed to get away from family for a while. So when we met with him, he was willing to work. He had his Colorado ID all set up. He had a clean background, no criminal issues that would be concerning. So we were able to meet with him and get him to a better place. We would consider him to be a success story. And I think next month we're going to present a little bit more detail on some of those as far as a number of people that have been placed or had their situation significantly improved. So hopefully next month we can get into more detail on that. My next example, somebody we would call a resistant single older male. We contacted him in the Highlands Ranch area, and despite what we tried to work with him on, he did not like the box of non-perishables that were provided for him. He refused the option for low-income transitional housing. He refused employment services. He refused shelter options in the area. And Last, he did not accept funds from the Parker Task Force when they offered to pay to fix his car. So we do run across people who are resistant to our services, and we try and do the best that we can, but this individual was eventually removed from the heart case management for that reason. My next example is an engaged couple. We located them in the Parker area, and we're continuing to work with them. They are trying to find work, but they may both have mental health challenges. This couple often needs help with food and other items, other supplies, since their tent was flooded in the recent rainstorms. So Hart continues to work with them since they are actively working on their situation. And I think we heard yesterday that they have been accepted into a mental health program to help them get going and get out of their situation. So that was great. The next example is a single mother that we located in the Castle Rock area. She has a job, but not quite enough money to get into an apartment, pay the deposit, etc. So Hart is helping her to get county benefits, and so far we are truly helping her from becoming homeless, and we believe that she will likely be a success story soon. So that's good. We also had a single male panhandler with a dog. We continue to contact him in the Lone Tree area. This individual prefers to stay homeless and camp outside. So far his welfare depends on the community for handouts, and he is beginning to receive warnings for trespass on CDOT property. So he's having to look for other options. Next, we have a married couple. We've contacted a couple of times, panhandling at a C470 off-ramp in the Highlands Ranch area. The female uses a wheelchair while panhandling, but tends to get up and walk away when the police show up. So both of these, both the male and female, were cited for drug use in the past. And we believe that they live in a tent somewhere in Littleton, but they come to Highlands Ranch for panhandling. So we've talked to them. And last, we have a single male who contacted us from the Greenwood Village area. He heard about the HEART program from another unhoused individual, and he actually took down our navigator's name and number and called us asking for help. But since he was in Greenwood Village, he was referred to the homeless outreach liaison for Arapahoe County. So hope that explains a little bit of the variety of folks and situations that we run into, and there are certainly more.
Thank you. On the first individual that you discussed that was resistant, that refused help, refused to get his car fixed, what was the disposition on that? Did he get sent on his way? Was he doing anything illegal?
Nothing illegal. He is kind of a complicated situation. He already receives a monthly income. I believe it's from a lawsuit from the past. So he has some options. He has some money coming in to be able to fix his own car. But ultimately, he wasn't really accepting any of our options, and we can ultimately keep people on our case management as long as necessary, as long as they're willing to work with us and willing to try things. As discussed, I believe it was the first presentation, people who find themselves to be homeless generally have some sort of trauma. They generally have some sort of reason that they are continuing to be in that situation. And sometimes if we can identify that, whether it's a mental health challenge or something else, then we can start there and work on that. But the people that we work with on our case management would have to be cooperative with the program so that we can provide our services to them.
Got it. Mm-hmm. Any other questions for the HEART team?
Can you talk about the connection that you all have? It sounds like, I think some of these might have some mental, you mentioned mental health on at least one of the examples you had. Can you talk about, or Tiffany, what kind of connection you have with, like, say, the Care Compact or connecting to CRT, that sort of thing, if and when that comes up?
Sure. And I'll give it to Tiffany for some of those resources. We certainly are in close contact with our CRT team, the crisis response in Douglas County. So if need be, we can connect them with that team, and they're able to assist with people who are feeling suicidal, perhaps, or people who need help in reconnecting with a new doctor or a new psychiatric program of some sort. So that's certainly an option. Yeah. You have more to add?
Yeah, we also partner with the All Health Path team. They were here a couple months ago presenting on their services. We refer a lot of people to their agency because they provide services out in the community in Arapahoe and Douglas, so they're able to go between the different counties. We also, like Luke said, we partner with CRT. We have referred a couple people to the Care Compact that were a little bit more tricky cases that we aren't able to deal with out in the field right that moment. So yes, we definitely utilize our mental health partners when we can.
Great, thank you. Any other questions?
Okay, thank you. Signs Committee and Public Awareness Update.
Yeah, so that would be me. But I did want to give Councilmember Harmon an opportunity to talk about what Lone Tree has worked on.
Councilmember Harmon from Lone Tree. I was like, I recognize that picture. That is one of our 2 new signs in Lone Tree. We've placed 2 on County Line, one at County Line in Yosemite and one at County Line in Chester. So excited to have both of those up on intersections that needed a little bit of signage. While I have the mic too, I would love to give a shout out to Greg Matthews and Deputy Ward. I called them for my own personal business this week, and the professionalism and the quick response really was impressive. And the way that they both work together, and you can tell they both have their strengths in, trying to find an individual and supporting an individual. We had noticed beginning of a camp on our property where I own my business. And not only did they come out and come into my business, but they also brought me our no trespassing form that I filled out, and they brought over to the city for me. And so just that whole wraparound service and engagement with business owners will really, I think, help our county. So thank you so much for that, and excited to have the signs up. So that's all I have for now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. You actually set me up very well. Thank you very much. Can you go to the next slide, please? So I just want to share the map that we have for the signs that I've shared before. We do have some new updates for you this time. In addition to the 2 that have been added in the city of Lone Tree, we have some additional signs that were put up adjacent to the RTD bus stops. So the green that you see up here on the map are the new signs that have been placed since the last meeting. So we have 12 new signs that have been added connection with those bus stops, 4 that are along Lincoln Avenue, 4 that are on University, 2 along Quebec, 2 at Lucent Boulevard, and a couple different intersections along there. The red that you see here are all the previous handouts don't help signs. And then we have the 8 no trespass signs that have been put up along the CDOT right of way. So we are looking at a total of 60 signs for the handouts don't help at this point, and the additional 8 no trespass signs. And then in addition to that, kind of along the lines of further outreach and communications, We have been, we actually do have now the map with the signs and where they are located at on our Homeless Initiative website, and we'll keep that updated as that progresses. And in addition to that, I know that we've talked about this in a couple of different ways, but staff has been working on putting some content together for a business tab, I guess, that will be associated with the Homeless Initiative web content. So there will be information for businesses if they want to access, how to do a no trespass letter, how to connect with HEART, how to access signs. We have digital signs available. We have a PDF of a printout that businesses can print the signs and post it at their location if they choose to, or we can work with them as well to get a physical sign installed. So, and I want to give a special shout out to James. We worked with James as a business owner to take a look at the content that we had put into what we were going to do with the business website. And he gave us some wonderful FAQ input along those lines, working with our chambers and economic development councils as well along those lines. So more to come on that. I suspect that will be up before our next, I know it will be up before our next meeting. It may even be up within the next week. So that will be coming soon. And that's what I have. Happy to answer any questions.
Okay.
Okay.
Seeing none. Next order is the executive committee members updates. Does anybody have any updates? Mayor Gray?
Thank you, Sheriff. On this past Tuesday, the town council took up an ordinance request from the water department and the water commission, having no camping within 100 feet of a waterway, whether that's culverts, drainage, creek, what have you. Mostly it's because of safety issues, for safety for our homeless population, but also safety for our citizenry as far as making sure our water's clean and that kind of thing. So I think it's a good ordinance. It's kind of the same ordinance. If you go camping somewhere in the mountains, you'll see signs here and there say no camping within 100 feet of a water, whether it's lake or river or stream. It's kind of on the same vein as that. And I also think it'll help our police engage a little more with our homeless community as well. So it's kind of a twofold system. Like it helps our citizens, and I believe it helps our homeless population as well and their safety. So thank you.
Thank you. Online, we have Mike Wade, Douglas County Community Foundation.
Yes, good morning, everybody. I apologize for not being there in person today, but I wanted to give you guys an update on the Douglas Has Heart Fund. Just to make sure, can you guys all hear me okay?
We can.
All right, awesome. So just as a quick reminder on that fund, when an individual goes to DouglasHasHeart.org from the websites, or goes to the website from the signs, they are prompted, if they, instead of giving a handout, they're able to make a donation online that goes into a dedicated fund that then is utilized for the services, for groups that provide services for homeless in Douglas County. If you guys remember, the fund started earlier in this year, and the way it works is as the donations come in, once they reach $2,500 in a quarter, then at the end of that quarter, funds are distributed to to the 4 organizations in order. So it starts at the top and then goes on, and it just repeats for every $2,500. Well, I am very happy and excited to say that, last quarter we had our first distribution to Help and Hope Center for $2,500. Well, this quarter, we have received enough donations to do another distribution. So the next group on there, the Douglas County Homeless Initiative, will be receiving a $2,500 check from Douglas County Community Foundation. To date, we have received $5,625 in donations through this program. So it's a prime example of how The outreach, the signs, and all of this has been working to help raise money and deter the panhandling handouts. We've received donations ranging from $25 to close to $1,000. So it's a good range that's gone through. So I just wanted to give everybody a quick update on that, and I'm happy to answer any questions as well.
Any questions for Mike? Okay. Any other committee members? Yes.
Good morning, everyone. Jamie Rife, Metro Denver Homeless Initiative. Just wanted to give, I think, some exciting news. First of all, Tiffany, that was a great story. I'm so glad coordinated entry, HMS, that was amazing. So thanks for all your work. And I wanted to give an update on our Built for Zero kind of regional coordination work. One of the things that we have is a scorecard from Community Solutions. And once a community hits 29 out of 29 data elements, that means they know people by name who are experiencing homelessness in their region. And I'm happy to report that Douglas County right now is at 27 out of 29, very close to getting to a point where they know all veterans by name. It's really exciting. And the entire region has gone from 7 out of 29 to 19 out of 29 in the last year alone. And what that is really resulting in is some additional veteran reductions. I think I shared a little bit about this, but over the last 2 years, we've reduced veteran homelessness by 3 times the national average. And then this year, we are looking at another 25% reduction in veteran homelessness and are on track to meet that reduction. So it's just really exciting. It's showing that it's working. And for the first time, the number of veterans in our region experiencing homelessness is going to drop below 400. So it's been really encouraging to see, and I appreciate the work of this group in making that possible.
Thank you very much. Any other comments? Okay. Next, we move into the public comment section. Do we have anybody in the audience? Do we have anybody online? Okay. Did anybody have anything else for the group? Okay. Hearing none, I appreciate everybody's time. I appreciate the collaboration of everybody coming here today. And again, I would just like to encourage everyone and anybody listening or online, if you run across panhandling, if you run across homelessness, if you run across somebody in a tent, please notify your local law enforcement. If you can, call the HEART team number at 303-660-7301. If you don't have the number, you don't know the number, that's okay. Just call your local law enforcement and we will send the appropriate response. So with that being said, thank you very much and have a great day.